XYLR absorbed the information, with a mixture of anger, calculation, and an unusual, almost palpable surprise. Earth was not as insignificant as they thought. The hegemony had been deceived not by a master plan of resistance, but by the Council's desperation and lack of information. The planet's unstable matter inefficiency, combined with the Council's inefficiency, had created an unsuspected threat. So it was not an intentional act of war on your part, XYLR summarized, his voice still dangerous, an added edge of contempt. It was calculated incompetence. You delivered a compromised asset to the KR-TAC hegemony, and it cost us a vital asset. The consequences of this, negligence, will be yours, Council. The hegemony does not forget offenses. And now that we know the truth, Entity 347 Gamma remains our ultimate objective. Emperor XYLR withdrew with his guards toward his fleet, heading back to a position near the solar system, but without crossing it, they had to continue analyzing the situation. The KR-TAC's anger had not dissipated, but their objective had tripled, the Council for its deception and incompetence, Earth for its unexpected resistance, and the reaffirmation of their own supremacy. The entire galaxy was on the brink of war, not just over conquest, but over a peace offering that went catastrophically wrong, revealing the weaknesses of all involved. "Are you saying the Council has hidden this from all of us?" said a planetary representative, tossing away an inhabited world without fully consulting us. "It was a decision made for the greater good of the Milky Way." Zodek retorted, his voice rising. The KR-TAC hegemony was advancing unopposed. We do not possess their technology or their capability to manipulate dark energy on that scale. Every fleet we sent was disintegrated before we could even see our attackers. Surrender was annihilation, this, at least, was a chance. A chill ran through many of those present. The admission was brutal, the Council, the galaxy's protectors, were powerless against the KR-TAC. When the KR-TAC arrived, we only had one option: offer them something they valued more than simple conquest. Earth, with its unique unstable geoenergetic singularity, promised to be a vast resource for them. A resource we thought would keep them occupied, far from our central systems, Lyra explained. We gave it up out of fear. Out of fear of the annihilation of our entire civilization. We thought it would be a quick end for the surface inhabitants, in exchange for the survival of billions more. Chapter 44, The Council's Rift. The representatives of the hundreds of Council worlds, previously united by the fear of the KR-TAC, now turned towards Delegate Lyra with a mixture of outrage and betrayal. The diplomatic nexus hall turned into a cauldron of accusations. "You gave away an inhabited world. A member of our own galaxy," shouted one planetary representative. "The very Council that swore to protect life now sacrifices it as bait. What about trust? We built peace on knowledge and transparency, and you hid this atrocity from us." Lyra retorted, "Silence. All of you know the truth. Did your fleet stop the KR-TAC? Answer me. Their technology, their capacity to manipulate dark energy, they disintegrated us. They pulverized worlds. Our shields collapsed, our ships vanished. We don't have the technology to see them, to fight them, or even to fully understand them." A Xantari walked to the front, their voice echoing with bitter authority. "Each of you was a witness. The projections showed annihilation. The KR-TAC hegemony does not seek territorial conquest like us, they seek the extraction of dark energy, the purification of unstable matter. They dismantle worlds down to their core. Earth, Entity 347 Gamma, with its geoenergetic anomaly, its chaotic core, and its unpredictable magnetic fluctuations, was the only resource that intrigued them. It was a natural laboratory for what they seek, Lyra continued, her voice firm in its desperation. We thought that singularity would stop them, that it would make them hesitate in their method of blind annihilation and buy us time for negotiation. It was our only chance to prevent the extinction of all of you, of all of us. But it is part of the Milky Way, said a planetary representative. Yes, it is part of the Milky Way, Lyra conceded. But a planet whose population, at the time, had barely reached its moon. They did not, and do not, possess the technology to leave their own solar system. They did not represent an intergalactic military force, nor a strategic resource that the other dominant species in this hull depended upon. The harsh truth hung in the air. The Council had made a cold calculation: sacrifice a primitive, isolated species to save thousands of advanced civilizations. They had judged the life on Earth as insignificant on the galactic scale against the unstoppable Kr'tak hegemony. What they did not foresee was that this insignificant life would refuse to be annihilated. The rest of the leaders from some Milky Way worlds, although still angry about the deception, could not refute the logic of fear and technological impotence. The rift in the Council was palpable. They had survived the first clash with the Kr'tak, but now faced a crisis of internal legitimacy and the threat of a galactic war they themselves had catalyzed. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans, oblivious to the Council's dramatic confession and the new direction of the Kr'tak's anger, continued their desperate race against time. The flashes of the Kr'tak retreat were not interpreted as salvation, but as a brief and inexplicable respite. Their scientists and military worked tirelessly, with the only certainty that the enemy would return. The planet, scarred but not defeated, thought of only one thing: preparation. Because they knew their destiny, in the end, depended only on them. Chapter 45, The Shadows of Conspiracy. The echo of Lyra's confession still vibrated in the vast corridors of the diplomatic nexus, but indignation had already transformed into something colder and more dangerous: strategy. In private rooms, away from the eyes of the lesser representatives and the Council's listening systems, the true galactic powers began to weave new webs. For the young Solari diplomat, everything was always an opportunity. In a darkened chamber, he addressed two planetary representatives from the most influential and powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Among them were the astute Naelf and the implacable Lockster, whose stillness revealed a calculating intellect.